Hi, I'm Matt and welcome to the first edition of Daedalus Manufactorium. Okay, I'm just starting out on this. Please be aware that we're probably going to have a bit of an issue with the technology. As I get used to this, get some more skills with the camera and on how to record these things, the quality is going to improve over time. So please just bear with me at the moment. Throughout this series of videos, what we're going to be looking at is we're looking at kit bashes and conversions. Okay, so one of my favourite things ever is taking models apart and putting them back together in order not designed by Games Workshop. I like other people like to cut up and put lots of different models together in kit bash, as do many others. And over the years, I've made some weird and wacky conversions. Okay, we're going to be looking at some of those. Okay, we'll look at lore and background fluff. I love reading the Black Library books and listening to them on Audible and other things like that. So we're going to be talking about some of the background fluff with units and different armies and looking right back at some of the history of the rich 40k and 30k universe and how we're going to show that in our models and how we build them, and we'll talk about the background stuff to the things that we're going to be building and converting. And then the other thing we'll be talking about is mental health, well-being, and mental health is really important, obviously for men, but this is a really good way of addressing the subject. So why mental health? Now, as I've said before, I am really into Games Workshop. I find it really helpful, okay, with how I manage my own mental health. Now, I served for 24 years in the British Army, okay, and by the time I left, I was suffering quite heavily with PTSD, with depression and really bad anxiety attacks. So around 1 in 8 men have common mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, panic disorders, or obsessive compulsive disorder. As with many mental health statistics, it's hard to know if the figures really represent what's happening. Right, there are a lot of people out there who just don't come forward, and men are probably some of the worst of it. There is a lot of stigma attached, okay, around mental health. But when we look at the current statistics, right, men are about 4 out of every 5 suicides are male. Okay, of that, suicide is the biggest cause of death in men under 35. Now, these just are horrendous statistics to be looking at, and obviously, these numbers I'm looking at are those in Great Britain. Obviously, ones around the world, some places are better at collecting statistics than others. Others aren't. But what we're going to be doing is looking at this, okay, and what we can do to help. So why are we talking about mental health and Warhammer at the same time? Seems a really weird combination. So modeling and painting, okay, is really art therapy, isn't it? So it works by concentrating the mind on one small detailed task that allows you to focus and then relax. I don't know about you guys, but I find when I'm in a really bad place, I just don't want to talk to anybody. I'll sit down, I'll get the paints out, I'll get a scalpel out, or whatever, and I'll the glue, and I'll build something and probably paint something. Sometimes I find that I'm not in the mood, that I can't paint, and other times I feel like I just need to build something, and then I've got a shed full of grey crack. You know, our addiction of buying Games Workshop things and then sort of keeping it to one side. And sometimes you just feel like you just need to sit down and build something. Now, creating something, yeah, what we're doing is we're creating something tangible. Yeah, and that is important for well-being. It goes back into that sort of really primal part of our brain where, you know, we're concentrating on something and we can get that tunnel vision, and for a little bit of a time, we're going to get that escapism and immersion. Now, a sci-fi universe gives your mind a break from the real world stresses, okay, and it can be very cathartic. So we're going to look at the first project. Now, the first project we're going to do is looking at building an army. We'll look at why we build it, how we build an army, and just sort of really getting started off. So this time I thought we would start with something a bit controversial. Now, I for one have been into the Warhammer universe since about the early 90s, about 92, 90, yeah, about 92 I started getting into it, and with Rogue Trader in the first edition. Now, on the front cover of Rogue Trader was that really famous picture of the Imperial Fist's last stand at Rindsworld. Now, that was the sort of poster child of Games Workshop back then, with the Space Marines with the Crimson Fists. And I've got to admit, my first Space Marine army I ever painted was Crimson Fists. Now, somebody's got to be the poster child, and everybody loves to hate somebody, don't they? So sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge actually tackling that one. So let's have a look. Right, here you go, Ultramarines. Everybody loves to hate Ultramarines. So here we go then. This is the typical blue and gold we're used to seeing of the Ultramarines. Now, since the fourth edition box, which was Tyranids and Ultramarines in a starter box, that's when we sort of really got that sort of Ultramarines as the sort of poster, okay, which was on the front, became the front box of everything, okay. And this is really the start of the Matt Ward era, where everybody started to think, oh, yeah, Ultramarines, they were the vanilla Marines, they were the sort of they were the sort of people we love to hate. And then in the fluff as well, the background and the stories that came out, especially in the Codex, that fourth edition Codex dropped, and Matt Ward just went to town on it, didn't he? Yeah, they just became the person where everybody hated because there. And then, yeah, we're not going to talk about the Matt Ward side of things a lot, but there we go. And after that, it became Vanilla Marines, and then with Assault on Black Reach with 5th edition, where we got more Ultramarines, okay, and that sort of nailed home that sort of attitude we had towards Ultramarines. Now, when they sort of started to drop the Horus Heresy books, and then we started to read up on the Ultramarines of Calth, that was it. It was when my attitude towards the Ultramarines really changed. Because in the 30k setting, they were really, really different. Okay, they were Romanesque. It wasn't about the Codex Astartes. It was about theoreticals and practicals. Okay, and the background from the book No Fear was absolutely fantastic, with the battle for Calth with people like Aenid Thiel, the red marks. We actually realised that this really boring thing that the Ultramarines had of actually painting sergeants' helmets red was actually the lore comes from the Night Lords. Actually, the Night Lords painted people who were under censure. They painted their hands red, and the Ultramarines picked up on this, and then as a mark of censure for somebody who's being disciplined, painted the helmet red. But with Aenid Thiel, they're sort of the Ultramarines sort of started to come to life, didn't they? They got a bit more background than just the goody two shoes rubbish which we got with from the 4th edition codexes and in 40k. So that sort of really gave us that sort of background. And one of the main problems we see with Ultramarines is it's always the second company. Everything we see is blue and gold. Yeah, there we go. We've got Sicarius there. We've got an intercessor down the bottom there, painted blue and gold. The Ultramarines second company. Yeah, with those blue, the blue with the gold trim. Even that terrible Ultramarines movie they made was the second company. Every time GW drops a new model, a new Space Marine model, they paint it blue and gold, and it is second company. Even when they dropped the Shadow Spear box, which was a prime opportunity for them to paint those really stealthy Ultramarines in a different color and have those Vanguard units, and they could have dropped them in the colors of the 10th company or the Scout company. They could have dropped that, but they didn't. They painted them up as second company again. So we start to get a bit bored with the second company, don't we? And if to prove a point, here we go, we've got this. So we see Ultramarines as that generic chapter and the second company as the generic company. And we've seen this all the way through. Every time they drop another codex, they show us the second company again. And for quite a while now, Cato Sicarius, he's just been at the top of that pile all the way through. And they've just shown us the same Space Marines again and again and again. So when they dropped 8th edition, second company again. So for this project, we're going to do something a little different. Here we go, the Honor Blades. We've got the 8th company. Okay, we can get away with not having that gold, that blue and gold. The 8th company is the assault company of the chapter. Okay, we've got grey rather than gold. We can sort of go for a paint scheme which is probably a bit dirty, a bit grimdark, so we can go back to that really grimdarkness of the far future, and we can sort of add something a bit different. Now, Marines, as they go from neophytes and they progress through their careers, they'll rotate through the reserve companies, okay, where they will gain more experience. And where they gain experience, one of the places they gain experience is by rotating through the 8th Assault Company. So there's lots of lore we can explore here. We can have a play around. We can make some models. We can write our own background fluff here. Okay. Now, the captain of the 8th company is known as the Lord Executioner. And for me, this model here is one of the nicest Space Marine models that GW had ever produced prior to the new plastics coming out and the new CAD sculpting. So the Lord Executioner model is a fantastic model. I'm not a fan of double-headed axes. Okay, they're very impractical and you wouldn't use them in battle at all. However, this model, the Lord Executioner, he's got absolutely looks menacing with his jump pack. So I think one of the things we can do as one of our kit bashes is produce we're going to have a go at producing a Primaris version, see how we can sort of update this, come up with our own version. So I've got some really fantastic bits in the bits box, and what we're probably going to be doing is looking at how we're going to build this guy, and actually make him fit into the feel for an army which we've got to produce. Why not? It's a good example for a kit bash. Let's do it. So how are we going to start building this army then? Okay, so what we need to do to start building an army is we're going to need to look at what we're going to use as the base. Okay, so the base units we're going to look at. So with the 9th edition, okay, I think it's fantastic. Okay, we've got the opportunity of building a Crusade army. Now, I wasn't really happy with power level when it first came out, when it dropped in 8th, but by 9th, I think the idea of having, I love thematic armies which actually tell a story. You know, that sort of, I'm not a power gamer. I am not one of these guys who chases the meta. But what I want is something we can progress from. I think the Crusade system, to be able to start with some basic models and then build your army as you go along, is absolutely fantastic. So what we're going to do is look at the Crusade army. Okay, to have a Crusade army, we need to start at 25 power level, and we can build from there. So this is a really good place for us to go with this army, is to start this project off as looking at the basic army. So there we go. So we're going to look at a 500 point core to start building an army. Now, we're going to use a battalion. I know I said I'm not a meta gamer, but command points are really handy to do all those fun things in a game. That, you know, not just the command re-rolls and things like that, but to start playing that game, you need some sort of command points to use. And that battalion, it's not a battalion at all. It's more like a platoon. Realistically, we're looking at a platoon size. Okay, but in Games Workshop, they like to call it a battalion. Okay, to farm command points. So a battalion detachment then. Okay, so what we need to have there is we're going to have a minimum of 2 headquarters and 3 troops choices. Okay, within our army. So we're going to use this 2 HQ and 3 troops choices to build the basis of our army, and that will fit in really nicely with that sort of crusade army. So when ninth dropped, we had a few extra types of HQs available and new troops choices. Now, these are the models which are flying around all over the place at the moment. So you can either buy those, or we can actually start kit bashing and making those using some of those models as the basis. So when Indomitus dropped, I was on the fence. I love the Dark Imperium box set. The amount of models and the Marines you got in there were absolutely fantastic. And I've done some amazing kit bashes, which I've really enjoyed doing, using the Death Guard models from the Dark Imperium, the 8th edition box. But 9th edition, I was really on the fence with. I got the models, I sold off a lot of the models, but I'll tell you what, the Assault Intercessors have really grown on me. Being a big Black Templar fan as well. So Assault Intercessors, and we'll have a look at some of those kit bashes I've done another time. So to get that core there, let's have a look. So we're going to drop a captain. Okay, so HQ, one of the HQs, remember you want to go for a battalion detachment, so we need 2 HQs. The first one we're going to go for the Primaris captain with his mastercrafted power sword, relic shield, and heavy bolt pistol. We could use a bit of artistic licensing here, as we saw when we looked at the Lord Executioner. He's got a great big axe, so we can play with that a little bit, right? We can play with a big axe and pretend it's a mastercrafted power sword, just for the rule of cool. Okay, so he's got a relic shield, heavy bolt pistol. He comes in at 5 power level, which is 105 points. So then we're going to look at our second HQ, okay, which is we're going to look at a Primaris Lieutenant. Okay, both of them give really good buffs with re-rolls and stuff for core units. Okay, but so they sort of really work sort of symbiotically with each other, as you'd expect. So that's sort of thematic, sort of a captain and his lieutenant. Okay, bear in mind I'm using the word lieutenant. Okay, not the American lieutenant. So Games Workshop, a British company, British product. There we go. We're going to use Lieutenant. So, Primaris Lieutenant, Mastercrafted Power Sword, Storm Shield, and Neo Volkite Pistol. You can grab this out of the box. He has come on the Recruit Edition, so you can pull him from the Recruit Edition, and there we've got that model good to go, standing there with his sword and shield and everything else. But don't like that, so I'm going to kit bash one and make ours very different. He comes in again at a 5 power level and 90 points. So now we're going to need 2 troops choices. As I said, first troops choice, I'm going to go for Assault Intercessor Squad. Yeah, that heavy bolt pistol is actually a really nice weapon. It gives you a range of 18 inches, and it sort of looks very similar to that sort of traditional bolt gun look, which means the models are really nice. It gives you that bolt gun and chainsword, so bolter and chainsword, which is a lovely look to a Space Marine anyway. So first Intercessor Squad, we're going to give the Sergeant a little something different. Okay, as we said, this is the basis of our army to be used for Crusade, and we can build them as we go along, build on them as we go along. So Sergeant with Plasma Pistol, second troops choice. There we go. Intercessor Squad with Sergeant and Power Sword. Both of these coming in at 5 power level or 100 points. And then our third choice there, which is going to be another Assault Intercessor Squad with a Sergeant with a Power Fist. We've got a nice little mix in there, and it's going to give us some really nice options for kit bashes in there when we're going to move around, and we're going to sort of play with some of these models, and then we're going to go into painting. So, which gives us our 25 power level, 500 points. I know some of these people out there who are power gamers and chasing the meta are probably going to be screaming at me, but we're going to play a few little games with these. We're going to see how these work out, and then we can build on these as they win or lose games. So I don't really care. This is the basis of an army. Now, this is the little monopose. These are the monopose guys which you pick up from the they come out of the paint set. So if you get the Space Marine paint set, these are particularly for that paint set. However, these guys have dropped also later in the summer. We're going to be getting the Imperium magazine coming out, and these guys are coming on issue 3 of the Imperium magazine. Now, when we look at these, we're going to save a bit of time on these. They've got ultramarine symbols already on the left pauldrons and assault symbols on their right pauldrons. Now, a lot of people complain about single pose or easy build models. I think with CAD sculpting over the years have come on leaps and bounds. Now these, when we looked at second edition, came out with a multi-pose Space Marine there. We just plugged the bolt gun with the hands on it into his chest. They were terrible. When we looked at, they were slightly upgraded when fourth edition came out. Obviously, third edition we had multi-pose models. The first of the Space Marine multi-pose models came out with third edition. They went back to single pose for fourth. Fifth, we got a lot of models dropped. We had Terminators, a Captain, a Tactical Squad, and a Dreadnought dropped in there. But again, the Tactical Marines were pretty single monopose models. But then it came on leaps and bounds again. By the time we got to Dark Vengeance, there was a problem with mold lines on there. We had tactical symbols, we had Dark Angel symbols molded onto the models, and a plasma gun and a heavy plasma cannon, a plasma cannon in there as well. By the time we got to the monopose with 8th edition, they were absolutely superb, lovely to convert, and I think that these with 9th are really, really nice. There we go. That's can be quite a controversial statement to make there, but we're going to have a look at these, and the reason we're doing this is it's going to give us a really good look at how to do kit bashing and converting and painting something which is monopose, quite cheap and quite easy to get hold of. Okay, and we're going to be taking I'm going to be looking at quite a few of these models. We'll be taking them apart and making lots of different poses and changes out of them.
So we're going to start off the Ultimate Cliche Force. As we said, we're going to be doing some Ultramarines. Don't hate me. So what we're looking at to start with is one of these basic nice single pose miniatures, which are from the paint set. We just discussed these a few minutes ago. There we go. So I've done a few alterations, changed the arm to start with. Okay, and there we go. We've got the basic parts there. So they're the basic parts we're going to use now for the ultimate cliche of a Primaris Lieutenant, which this guy's going to become. Okay, is one of our HQ choices. We're going to need to add a base. Now, the normal standard size base with these 32mm bases is not going to be the right size for him. So I want to put him on something a little bit more dramatic. So out of the bottom of my bits box, because we had the Mortal Realms came out last year, I did collect a few of those, and here we go. We've got one of these nice Stormcast Eternal bases, which is a lovely size for starting with this guy to be standing on, to make him look a bit more chunky than the rest of the models. Now, what other parts am I going to be using? So from issue 1 of the Imperium magazine, we got another Primaris Lieutenant. So in this case, he's also the guy who comes in the he came in the Indomitus box, and he also came in the Recruit edition. So I've got a few of them knocking around my bits box. So in this case, we're going to be using that really nice assaulty version of the Primaris Lieutenant. So we got the Neo Volkite pistol. So that's going to be great. We're going to be using this guy. As we can see, we've got this hand ready to go. So all we're going to need to do is remove this pistol from there and put it into place on that hand. We're going to be using a Storm Shield as well. So we're going to be having the standard Storm Shield. There we go. So the Indomitus Storm Shield. Not a big fan of these. I've got a few knocking around the bits box because I've been using making up my own Storm Shields for my own Blade Guard, and the captain from my from my executioners uses a slightly different shield. So I've got one of these, and what we're going to try doing with this is using something different. I might move the purity seals on it, especially if we've got some really sort of nice movement effect in the model. Sometimes purity seals and the way they hang don't really marry up. So we're going to probably remove these purity seals very carefully with a craft knife and put some more on which sort of go with the flow of direction. In this case, probably be adding a bit more. One of these, we get the little Ultimas. We tend to find you've got tons of in the bottom of your bits box. They come off drop pods, and they're on all sorts of things. And I've just run out of things to do with them. So we're going to see if we can do something with this to add that and add a bit more detail to the front of the shield. That's going to probably take quite a bit of filing and use of a craft knife for that. And then also from the Indomitus Lieutenant, we're going to be putting this on there. So we're going to be looking at how does this guy go together. So his pistol holster, empty pistol holster, is on his left hand side, which means he's going to be trying to draw his weapon across his body. Doesn't really work with a pistol, so we're going to be taking that holster off, moving it across to the right hand side of his body, so he can draw that with his right hand, and then we're going to be filling that space using this ludicrously large power sword. So they're the base parts we're going to use for this conversion. Okay, let's have a look. I've already chopped this one off. As we see here, the right arm of the Primaris Lieutenant, I've already removed his hand, because that hand is then going to fit into the back of the shield there. I'm just going to do a quick trim with the chainsaw to take the chainsaw off, and we're going to be putting that shield arm onto there. Now the good thing about this is this arm has already got the Ultima symbol on there. As I said, we're going to go for Ultimate Cheese with this, and we're going to be doing something different, but with Ultramarines. Now, the right hand pauldron on this, as we can see, has got an Assault Marine symbol on it. We'll be very carefully removing this pauldron. It's actually a really nice sculpt in there, but we're going to be removing this pauldron and replacing it with it looks like a Nova Marine symbol. I think this one probably came, this shoulder pad here, probably came from a Death Watch kit. However, it's the right symbol and exactly the right shape for a lieutenant's badge of rank. So we're going to be using that as our right pauldron and retaining the Ultima for the left pauldron. Bit undecided now as to what to use for the head. So maybe go for, we've got a head here with a couple of service studs. We can use this one, or go for a standard helmet, and we have this little piece there, which is sort of keeping that Romanesque sort of feel to that nice, that pre-heresy, not Romanesque feel, which we had with Ultramarines, which I think the pre-heresy and the sort of Horus Heresy era Ultramarines had a lot better feel to them than the sort of Matt Ward era 40k Ultramarines. But we try bringing that back by putting some sort of comb on top of his helmet there. We've got another few things to add in there. Let's see if these are going to add in. We've got a couple of different laurel wreaths just to make him look a bit different. And then what I've already made up here is this was the backpack from, I think it was probably issue 5 of the Conquest magazine, where we had Lieutenant Cassius, and he had an Ultramarine backpack on there, and I think this Ultima on top of there, that came from Sternguard veteran squad, but however, stuck it to the backpack. And again, we may look at removing that purity seal or moving it to a different direction to actually ease the flow of movement with the model. Last bit I've got here from, I think it's Lieutenant Cassius, is a purity seal of an Ultima on it. So these are the bits which we're going to be using for this kit bash to make this this guy up. Let's have a look and see how that goes. Okay, so I've prepped some of the subsections now. So as we said, we've got the base. As you can see, I've prepped the head. So there we go. The head's prepped. I've stuck that on there. What we've done is we've taken the pistol holster off of the left-hand side. Okay, I've glued in the hand on the back of the shield and trimmed down the other shoulder pad off there. I've just cleaned all the bits up, and I've also removed the purity seals. Okay, we're going to take it from here and we're now going to start the build. So here we have our Primaris Lieutenant for the Ultramarines. So as you can see, we've used one of those really nice sort of running legs, and the body which has come from one of the new assault intercessors. We've used the crest for the helmet, which has come from the old Primaris Captain model, which fits really nice there on the helmet, which gives us that sort of front to back crest, especially if we're going to go for that sort of Centurion, to bring back the Roman feel for the Captain, where we're probably going to go for a transverse crest, which would be worn by a Centurion. So to mark them out as different. There we go. We've got a really nice fit there with the storm shield, with the back of the hand there, and as you can see, we've reapplied purity seals there, which are now running as if they're fluttering back in the direction that the guy's running from. So there we go. We've got the storm shield again with the sword. The power sword is now attached to the side there, sort of as if he's running forward. He's got his mastercrafted power sword. We've got the Ultima on the back of his power pack. We've got the Lieutenant's badge of rank on his right pauldron, and we've managed to clip at the elbow there, so we've got that sort of Indomitus Crusade badge on his right vambrace as well. Yeah, these models have got a sort of strange extra armoured vambrace and the backs of the gloves as well. It's giving that sort of more closer combat feel. And I love the fact that we've now got the Volkite weapon, which has sort of made that comeback from the Heresy era. There we go. And as you can see, actually having the pistol holster on the right hand side sort of makes a lot more sense now. I didn't get to use a few of the other pieces I had to one side there on him, but I think we've done a really good job there. Now this guy is going to be really fun to paint, so we're going to be visiting this guy again, probably within the next few episodes, and we're going to be putting some paint on this guy here. But I think next time we're going to be looking at the Captain and build the Captain and do we'll do some paint jobs, because I'm getting quite excited about building the Lord Executioner.
Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me on the first attempt at publishing something on this channel. Please subscribe if you liked it, or hit like, or just put some comments in the bottom there. Okay, and hopefully I'll see you soon with some more. Okay, and hopefully we'll improve. Okay, bye.